Hello everyone, today I'm back at Bradgate landfill. I'm not here to look at the landfill today. I'm coming back to look at the ruins. After the last visit here, I got some comments and messages after the video telling me a little bit about the history of the house and the ruins. I don't do a lot of research before I come out. Even today I've not done a lot of research because I don't like it to influence me in what I see, or make judgments on the information that I've seen beforehand. But I've come here today to try and work spiritually with the energies within the ruins. And the whole spiritual thing is a big bone of contention, really, because spiritual people have been demonised, and the film industry and Hollywood and generally made it look very bad, spiritual work, that it's associated with witches and whatnot. I think that's a little cut through. It's certainly overgrown from last time. But yeah, today I'd like to try and redress that balance spiritually. And like attracts like. If you work nicely spiritually, then with love and warmth, that's what you'll get back. If you want to work dark with the spirits, that's what you'll get. And I work with love and light and integrity. And here's the ruins. So today it'd be nice to try and connect. I've been spotted by the sheep. Don't tell on me, keep it quiet. It's certainly overgrown, which gives me a bit more cover than before. They've not covered up the little cubby hole on the way in, which is good. But there are shed loads of nettles. I don't know if this is new, if I'm going over it. There you go. Yeah, so today we're going to try and see what happens, see what we can find. Let's have a little look around. Yeah, for those of you that didn't watch the Bradgate landfill video, I recommend you go and have a little look, because it's in a different vein to what I'm going to try today. I'm going to have a little look around, but I'm not going to explore around it. I'm just going to find a nice little spot and see what I can connect spiritually and get. Yeah. I'll just show you quickly around it. It must have been a very beautiful place. And when I came here before, it felt very much like sacrilege, like this is so wrong. Such a beautiful place left to go to ruin. It doesn't look like anybody's been here since last time. Oh, I don't know. I don't know why they put scaffolding up. quite like these stairs for some reason. Let's give a little look up before we start. We have to do like this. I really like the idea of this. An elevated position. Yes, this is nice. This is good for us. I'm going to set the little camera down there. I thought it might rain today. I'll put that there. I know it's a bit dark, but it's not about what we see today, it's about what we feel. When I work spiritually, mediumistically, anything can happen. Emotions, smells, sense things and whatnot. My particular like is actually connecting with another spirit, an energy. And by coming here, it amplifies that. It's a great catalyst for being in the environment, and you capture the essence of it. So I'm just going to sit here quietly for a minute and see what we can get. I could feel the energy growing as I was walking up the lane. A level of anticipation, if you like, and I get the sense of a distinguished gentleman coming through. Probably going back a couple of 100 years. I feel with this gentleman, he's very well dressed, got top hat, big sideburns, what we'd call sort of lamb chops, mutton chops, whatever. But yeah, very well dressed, very, very wealthy. A very kind spirit, a very warm, helpful, sincere, noble guy. The best way I can describe this gentleman is like in the film Oliver, this 1970s version I think it was, or late 60s, the character Mr. Bumble, the gentleman that tried to help Oliver and Nancy, and I feel with this chap that he did a lot to try and help. It was a lot about reform, but he was, like I say, he was very wealthy, and he was mixed in with the industrial types, what we call the captains of industry now, or the industry elites, whatever, the big businessmen, the landowners, the business owners. He was mixed in with them, but he wasn't quite of the same caliber as them at all. He was very much the sort of chameleon, where he would change his persona according to the environment he was in order to blend in socially and to be accepted. So he could be in the company of certain people, he would behave a certain way in order to be accepted. It was like a kind of camouflage to him. And by using, see, this is how spirit works. What they've done, they've used that film in my memory and brought it forward. And this gives me so much information that this tells me exactly what it was all about. It sets the scene for me of an era, a couple of 100 years ago, where the world was a very, very sort of hostile and hard landscape. And yeah, it tells me so much just by showing me that film. And I recommend, if you've not seen the film, or if you have seen it, at least go and watch it or revisit it, because it's more of a documentary than a film, a musical. But I feel this gentleman was very much a force for reform. You know, he wanted to change things. You know, he wanted to level the playing field, if you like, a little bit across the board for all people involved. You know, he's telling me there was a lot of exploitation. You know, that's even evident today, where children were exploited, took advantage of, put to work. And this, by these captains of industry. So it's just a little bit windy, so I'm going to come around here. Stick it there. Yeah, by these captains of industry. And it was a very difficult task for him, because he in order to mix socially with these people who he would deem as tyrants and bullies, you know, he had businesses, he had, factories and stuff. You know, he had his fingers in a lot of pies, so to speak. But he had to tread carefully in order to do what he could do. He helped a lot of people, and he's telling me that this fight has gone on for a long time to try and level the playing field and make society a better place. And he took a lot of resistance and a lot of flack because of his sort of hidden agenda of helping people. You know, he's telling me that it was very like he was led by God, and he was blessed with the fortune and the capabilities to help people. So this is what he tried to do. You know, it's a very dangerous place. Like I say, he looks like the character of Mr. Bumble out of Oliver. He looked very distinguished, very smart, and he would carry a cane. But this cane wasn't just a cane; it was a sword, concealed as a cane. Because the place, because he looked wealthy and he was wealthy, the world was a very dangerous place. A lot of people were struggling for food, shelter. It was a very hostile environment, so you needed to carry something to sort of protect yourself. He's telling me that he's a very warm gentleman. He's nice to be around. He's very sincere. He's very compassionate. And he's given me some comfort. He's telling me that I've felt very despondent of late, and it's true, I have. I make these videos, and I sometimes wonder where it's going, whether it's worth it, but he's telling me that it is worth it. Every little bit helps, makes a difference. He's telling me if one person saw it, that one right person saw the right video, and it influenced them to stand up, then it's worth it. It's better than thousands of people watching it that don't care. He's telling me that I'm leaving footprints for later generations to follow, which is really nice and encouraging, and it's good confirmation for me that what I'm doing. He's telling me he met a lot of resistance, a lot of skullduggery, a lot of people trying to trick him, a lot of mistrust, and he's telling me by doing what I'm doing, I have to expect some backlash, because people don't like you to open up Pandora's box and lay it all out on the table, all their demons and their skeletons in the closet. He's saying that the whole family here, strived. It was their ethos to try and help. And in the end, they paid the price for that, which is why we see what we see around us. It feel like he's not one to steal the limelight. He's not one to push and shove his way in. He wants to step aside now. He wants to let somebody else come forward and share their story. So I'm going to let him do that. I'm going to let him step aside. He may come back to say some words later, but for now, he's stepping aside to allow another energy, another spirit to come forward. I'm sensing a lady coming through, very elegant. She's got brown hair, lovely curls. She's all in white. White dress, white apron, and something white in her hair. And she's very warm, very kind. She's one of them characters that could look at you and you wouldn't have to say a word. She would know and understand you and work you out pretty quick. This lady would have reached old age, but she's preferred to show herself to me when she's a little bit younger, in her 20s, it's in a prime. That's how she prefers to show me. She's telling me that she's a servant of the house. She worked here. She was happy to work here. She felt safe here. She felt loved here. She's telling me she came from a very difficult beginning on the streets, and at a very young age she was in a very dangerous situation, and she was rescued by this Mr. Bumble character. She was taken out of that environment that she was in at a very young age, 6, 7, 8 years old. She's saying she had a very strange time trusting this Mr. Bumble character. She always expected him to act like the sexual abusers that she'd encountered before, where they pretended to be nice, and then one day they were going to change and expect things from her. And it took her a long time to get over that trauma of a sexual abuse history and being passed around and treated awfully. She's telling me that the world was a very, very awful place back then. Children were used and abused, enslaved. Children would go missing. Children would just disappear. They'd go off with somebody, for money, and never be seen again. And it was a lot of the industrial elites, if you like, that were participating in this because they had the money and the means, and young children, boys and girls, were lured into this sense of being looked after when that's not really what was going to happen to them. And she's saying that this wasn't just the industrial elites, the big businessmen, it was the politicians, the royalty of the day that were all involved in this lawless act, if you know what I mean. Yeah, she's saying that she was helped and rescued here, and a lot of what her role was when people were rescued. Obviously they couldn't rescue everybody, but they did what they could when they could, and a lot of the people that worked here were rescued, and a role she took on was that of sort of trauma advice, trauma help, and she helped the people that come here adjust to that trusted environment, because she knew what it felt like to, you know, feel like that trust was going to be broken at any moment. And she worked with these traumatized people, children, and she's telling me that all the people that worked here were a part of the family. They weren't separate. They had their separate quarters, their own living quarters and environments, but they were very much looked after and loved here, and they were taught to nice, they were treated nice. And she's saying Christmas was very special. They were all involved. There were times when not parties were held here, but conferences, meetings, that sort of thing, with the gentleman we talked to before, and they would keep out of the way, and they were happy to do that because some of these people were a bit unsavoury. This is the delicate balancing act that the character we refer to as Mr. Bumble, probably not his real name, it's just a character that highly resembles that of the film Oliver. He walked a tightrope between the two worlds, and his role was very much of reform and change for good. And this fight for reform and change has gone on for a very long time. It felt like it was very much our calling to try and help people. And it was like a chain. One person helped another, helped another, helped another. And it got a flow going, people helping people. But the frustration came because you couldn't help everybody. And that's where a bigger part of the puzzle, the bigger game plan came into force. This lady's telling me that Lady Grey, that was born here, lived here, you know, she was executed because of her threat towards the industrial elite. You know, they were petrified of her. This family had a reputation for, in their eyes, they call it troublemaking. But Lady Jane Grey, Queen, a very short Queen, short as in terms of her role, and they wasn't going to let her get a foothold, because she would have done a lot of damage, she would have changed a lot of things, and they wanted, you know, the businessmen, the politicians, the other royalty, the extended family of royalty didn't want stories were concocted about Lady Jane Grey to, get her executed. And she was executed for treason. And it wasn't, if looking after the people, trying to help the people, trying to reform society was an act of treason, then, that wasn't what, she was executed for treason under religious grounds. But, really it was a smokescreen for getting rid of any opposition that could have hindered or interfered with what was going on here. The abuses, the control, the extortion, everything. It was all stage managed, and it's very much like it is today. The big businesses ruled the laws of the land. They influenced the laws of the land. They financed the government and the political parties. And she's saying that's not changed in hundreds of years. They've got the money, and the money buys influence, and the money buys what they want. She's telling me that there was a lot of people have paid the price for standing up and trying to help people. She's paying reference to Anne Boleyn, I think it was the first of Henry VIII's wives to have been executed. And she's telling me that there was never love between Anne Boleyn and the king. It was always about gaining that position of power and influence to instigate reform and change. And when that was discovered, when she started to gain that power, that influence, then she became a threat. And a divorce just wouldn't cut it. She needed to be got rid of in the most horrific way of beheading. Just the same way as Lady Jane Grey was beheaded. She's telling me it's just the most horrific act of devaluation, and by the means of execution of beheading wasn't that of a guillotine but that of an axe, a public humiliation, to send out messages to people of that time not to try and stand up against the system. This lady's very powerful, very strong. And she's saying a lot about the power of. There's a lot to believe that men are the heroes in the real world, but she's telling me that at that era, the females were at the front line. They were taking the risks. In the name of love, in the name of, reform. And they paid the ultimate price. She's telling me that Lady Jane Grey had the opportunity to flee to France, where she would have found safe haven. But she refused because she thought there'd be backlash. Well, she knew there'd be backlash to it, that there'd be other consequences to it. Same with Anne Boleyn. If she'd have fled, then someone would have paid the price. And I can't describe the amount of courage that must have taken, to stand up and pay the ultimate price. And she wants me to know that their death, their executions, weren't in vain. In fact, it went against the establishment because people, people could see through the smoke screen. They weren't daft. They could see through the royalty of the time. They could see through the politics of the time. And the people of industry. It showed them up for what they were. And the ruins that you see around us are a continuation of that punishment. Standing up. The family was stripped of everything. Doors were closed to them in industry. People turned their backs on them. Which slowly led to the downfall of this beautiful building. There'd have been animals here. She's telling me it would have been a hive of activity. Thriving environment of love. And what that represented was a threat, so it had to go. And she feels a sense of sadness. But she was happy to have played her part at that time to help. I feel like this lady, I want to call her Isabelle. It feels like a name she chose, not a name that was given to her. So I'd like to thank Isabelle, the lady that helped so many children alongside the Mr. Bubble character that lived here. I'd like to offer my thanks for what they did. It won't be forgotten. And like I say, I feel this lady stepping aside now, and she feels a lot of comfort knowing that she shared her story in today's world on the platform that we have today in this century. She never thought that would be possible, to have her voice heard again. So she's very grateful for that. I just want to see if I can bring to another energy while I'm here. I want to make the most of my time here today. And for some reason, I feel the overwhelming urge to have a smoke. I don't know why. So I'm going to have a smoke. Who knows, could be the last one. Okay, I feel a male energy coming through now. Not quite as nice as the other two characters. He's very well built, not very tall, but not short either, but very strong. Not muscly, but strong. And he's I can't see what it looks like. He's wearing a hood. He's concealing his identity. Oh, he's an executioner of the era. Oh dear. This should be interesting. Let's go into his personality a little bit. Let's see what he's like. He's very dry, very, I don't know. He's very sort of blunt with his words. He's the executioner. He's telling me that he was a blacksmith of the time. He made weapons of war. He made weapons of execution. He wore a hood to conceal his identity, so he could be safe walking through the streets afterwards of what he'd done, feeling safe. But yeah, he was a blacksmith by trade, and he performed executions at the orders of the courts and royalty. He's telling me he was conflicted about what he did. When it came to murderers and rapists, he had no feelings about it. He did what he did. But when it came to women, he wasn't comfortable. It didn't sit well with him at all. But he's telling me he had to do what he had to do. He couldn't pick and choose otherwise. He's saying the world then was a very ruthless place, a very dangerous place, and sometimes examples had to be set. He's saying it's very much a time of he's saying it's like a cartel, is what the word we'd use today, a cabal, where signals had to be sent out for compliance to keep people in order, and the whole construction of keeping people poor was all about control. It's a very, very dangerous place, and he's saying it's not so different today as it was then. Just the methods are different. He's saying before he passed, he asked for God's forgiveness for the life he chose and the acts he participated in. And he's saying thankfully he was forgiven. And he was accepted into the kingdom of God. And he's saying if he had his life again, he wouldn't have took that role, he wouldn't have took that position. He carries a lot of sadness for what he did, and he tried to make it as quick and as painless and as efficient as he possibly could. He was asked on a few occasions to blunder the executions, to make it more painful for the victim, if you like. But he never participated in that. He had a reputation, pardon the pun, he had a clean-cut reputation of dispatching people. If he could put a number on the people, he couldn't put a number on, but sometimes it could be a dozen people a day that he would execute. He only did the executions that were beheadings. He didn't do the executions that were hangings. It was down to the judge to decide the method of execution. But yeah, if he had his life again, he would have chose very different. I'm glad he came through, because it offers a sense of balance to what we're getting spiritually today. It shows you every aspect of that life. you know, and that control, and everyone will be punished that steps out of line. And it's important for people, brave people, to stand up against tyranny and against the bullies. Even if they pay the price. I feel he's stepping away now. He's said his piece. He's cleared his conscience to some degree with the people. I'd like to thank him coming through today and working with me. I don't think we're going to get any more on this occasion. I think I've certainly got more than I anticipated today, but I did definitely feel a calling to come here and do this. I was going to do like a night visual, or a stealth camp here, but I didn't feel it was very practical. But a night vigil here spiritually would have been a good thing. To share the energies all night, it probably would have affected my dreams. I probably would have felt much during the night. I probably wouldn't have got a lot of sleep, but yeah. So I'd like to thank the wonderful spirit energies that have come through today, and offer my love, my support, and my thanks for their participation in today. It's been very, very awakening, very enlightening. I think in conclusion to this visit today, it's all been about reform and about people's battles and strength, in about reform and changing things. And I think that's really important. A lot of people are playing their part in change, and a lot of people feel despondent that they're not achieving anything, myself included. And it's a lot of inspiration never to give up, never to stop trying to change things. Because the fight's worth it. Every sense of the word. Beautiful, beautiful place. If I could rebuild this brick by brick, if I had the means to build this place back, I would. And I'll say to anybody that comes to this place, come here with the utmost love and respect, because that's what this place represents. It's been damaged enough. Please don't come here and damage it anymore. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. And to keep your minds open spiritually. Don't be closed off. Because it's a wonderful world spiritually. Okay. It must be the little lambs we saw when I came here a few months ago. All grown up now. Beautiful, beautiful sheep. Like the black sheep of the family, ain't you? I know how that feels. got to get out of here now. So thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Till next time. Bye for now.